making, slaving away for Emily to have her blue matcha so she can be all set for her day. Welcome to the show, Kitchen Catch Up. Today's going to be a special show. I'm going to tell you why. Today's a very special show because I've been saying it since the beginning. We are going to do live call-in. So if you are having a question, any question, physical health, mental health, relationship health, emotional, spiritual health, we're here to answer. Emily and I, we got the both perspectives from our sides, and really excited to start hearing your voices. This is part of the reason why we did this show. I'm about to make a matcha for myself, but here it is. Look at it. Emily gets the blue matcha. This is the only reason she comes here and does the show.
It really is.
She gets a little bit of blue matcha. It's going to be out in the summer. All right.
Thank you.
We got the formulas being made. Okay, so what a life.
What a life.
Let me tell you something. I saw this movie Sinners yesterday. Did you see Sinners?
I have not, and my friend is a producer, and her production company is on the Warner Media, Warner Bros, whatever. They've gone through so many different names. I'm not sure anymore, but on that lot, and she invited me to the screening like last week before it was going to come out. And at 6 p.m., it was going to take me an hour and 45 minutes to Burbank. I could not make it, so I haven't seen it yet, but she said it was like amazing.
Beyond amazing.
Yeah.
You know I'm a movie buff.
Mm-hmm.
This is a top all-time movie, and I don't say that lightly. And you don't hear me say I'm never like hyperbolic in my expressions. Like I don't watch a movie and go, "Oh, this is the best movie I've ever seen." It takes a lot for me to say that. I said that yesterday. It is one of the top movies I've ever seen. I mean it. It's incredible, and it's an experience. And I hate watching movies twice, unless there's like things to watch for. I'm going back to the movies to watch this on IMAX.
Wow.
So all of you, listen, Sinners Production Company, you need to sponsor us because we're pushing this movie Sinners for y'all. It's such a good movie. Okay, so we're getting the room set up for our call-ins. So hopefully we can hear today from some of you. But Emily, I have a question for you as I make my matcha. What is the number one thing you notice in your body when spring comes? It changes from that winter and then just like, oh, more sun is out. Oh, this is blossoming. What's the number one thing you notice in your body change?
Number one, because I feel like there are many. It's like an energy, a brightness, like a more awakeness. Definitely in the mornings and then at night with, just the longer days. So I think that's really when I feel the main difference. Like in the middle of the day, maybe I'm not feeling as much, but like morning and night with the sun out and it's not as gloomy.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like an energy, a brightness.
Your energy's level.
Yeah.
You're more vital.
Mm-hmm.
When I lived on the East Coast, one of the hardest times for me was in the winter. And I didn't know that I had seasonal depression for 4 years. Through all of naturopathic school, I didn't know I suffered from seasonal depression. And so I just thought, hey, I come back to being myself every spring and every summer, and then I just go into like just a dark hole or natural cave. But it wasn't. It was actually seasonal depression.
Wow.
And that seems like, look, it's one thing for the winter changing to be wanting to stay indoors more, a little bit more reflective, cozy. And it's another thing to actually feel like a sense of dread or heaviness, or you actually don't want to get out of bed. And I actually have this light that I use still in the mornings. And it's this 10,000 lux light, and it mimics the sun. The sun's like 100,000.
Yeah.
But you get this bright light in the morning, and my God, it's been the thing that saved me since I've gotten it. I was so excited that I got 2, and then I realized I'm never going to use 2, so I went back to using 1. But it helps so much.
Yeah, because I grew up in San Diego and then have lived in LA the rest of my life, so I've never really experienced that. I experienced like the light fluctuations in energy with the seasons, but we don't really get real seasons here, so it's not too much. Like even in the dead of winter, you can go outside, you can be in nature, you can see some form of sunlight. So I feel like that's really important for people who don't live in these rare areas that get sun year round, because Yeah, I think if it was just the natural fluctuations like of our energy and how we kind of cycle throughout the year, and that there's more time for rest and it encourages you to stay in, and then you notice like the positive benefits of those periods, then that's one thing. But if you're really starting to notice that there's actual like depression and can't get out of bed and those feelings involved, then yeah, really important to find tools that can kick it.
Yeah, 100%. I find the same thing. And I want to know, viewers out there, who suffers with seasonal depression? And I want to know, what's your number one symptom of seasonal depression? Because it's different for different people. I would love to know out there where you're at, if you know that you suffer from seasonal depression or suspect it, and what symptoms do you get in the winter that kind of go away every single year right around this time. And I remember I was like, wow, my brain feels sharper. Wow, I have so much more energy. You know, wow, I feel so much more happy. And I just thought it was because the sun was out, and partly that, but it was because I was actually getting more vitamin D.
Yeah, and I think the scary thing with that is that as much as now, when you look back, like I kind of think of it like when you have a cold and your nose is like a little stuffy, and you start to think, is this just what it's like to breathe? Like, is this just what it feels like to breathe? You kind of forgot what it felt like to breathe clearly. And that happens to us when we go through these periods of depression, is you start to get tricked into thinking, no, this is just how I think about myself, how I think about the world. This is just the truth. And it often takes for you to actually come out of it to look back and be like, oh, whoa, you know, there was this like filter that was covering over my reality, and it was making me feel a certain way. But now that I feel normal again, I notice the difference between that state and this state. But when you're in it, it's so hard to notice. You just start to think like, I'm just dreading life, you know, like you're in that dread. It's hard to actually notice I'm experiencing, you know, these symptoms of dreading life because of maybe not getting vitamin D. And yeah.
It's the worst. Let's check the comments, but vitamin D is everything. Actually, if you're not able to get a happy light, vitamin D and supplementing it, first you want to make sure it's a fat soluble vitamin so it's staying in your body. Yes, you can build up a lot in the system, you just don't want to do too much. Get yourself checked. Vitamin D. Right by November, what's your vitamin D level? December, go to the doctor. What's your vitamin D level? Because all those storages from the summer might be building up in the system, yes, but also they may be depleting by the time December comes. And so vitamin D is, oh my God, it is so essential to our mental health. Not only that, breast health. Not only that, full body, systemic, immune health, inflammation. Vitamin D is like, I would say probably one of the most important things that you can supplement. And most people need to supplement that because of the way society is structured. Being outside, we're not doing the things that we were doing. We're not in community outside. We're not walking the way we used to. And so this divorce from nature has depleted our vitamin D levels. It's leading to a lot of sickness for a lot of people. Okay, where are we at right now? Let's check the comments. We have some
lots of
reaction
comments.
videos, lots of comments. What are they saying here?
Black Nessa Amy is the biggest human suffer from seasonal depression.
Oh.
Massive suicidal depression in the winter. I feel like a con artist because now those days are behind mentally. And I'm scared to be happy. I've increased my dosage of vitamin D, but 2024 winter was still hard. Maybe I need to increase it.
Yeah, and if you don't have that light, it's worth investing in. And we're talking about as soon as you wake up, you sit, you put it on, it's still dark out, especially if you're on the East Coast or anywhere that is like not here. It's really dark in the mornings after daylight savings, and then you put this light and you don't have to stare into it. Like I read my book. I read a book in the morning, 20 minutes, and it's at the angle where it's still hitting me. And it's day and night. It's cumulative, but it's day and night. You do it for 2 weeks straight, you're going to notice seasonal depression start getting better. Anything else?
What vitamin D supplements do you recommend? Yeah, that was a question that I had. Is it more important or more beneficial to supplement with vitamin D or to use these things like the light where it's actually encouraging your body to create its own vitamin D?
In the winter, I think supplementing with vitamin D is essential. and I can't say how much or how often. This is why I said, come like Christmas time, everyone should be checking their vitamin D so they know how to get through the rest of winter. But
What's the best way to check your vitamin D? Is it blood work?
You say, hey doc, I need to get my vitamin D tested. Best form of vitamin D, you can get vitamin D and K if you're especially concerned about bone density.
Yeah, I feel like I see a lot vitamin D3, K2.
Yeah, it's amazing, especially if you're having kids, to have not supplemented, but vitamin D-rich foods, vitamin K-rich foods, because it helps with the development of the jaw and the teeth. So think bones. But the vitamin D I have here is just 2,000 a day. Let's see, it's somewhere in here. I think it's Metagenics or Thorne vitamin D. I take 2,000 a day. Sometimes in the winter, I'll take 5,000 a day. If I'm sick, I'll take 10,000 IU's a day. It just depends. You gotta talk to your doctor. Emily, do you supplement vitamin D? While you're saying this, I'm just gonna blend this up.
I don't right now. I'm trying to get better. I said this to a friend, and she kind of shook her head at me, but I'm not very good at taking supplements. I get overwhelmed when I have too many supplements to take, and I'm really bad at being on a routine of taking a bunch every day. Like, I can take 1 to 2 supplements in the morning, 1 to 2 at night. I used to put all of my supplements in like a pill, organizer, and then in the morning and at night I could just take what I needed. But when I don't do that, the idea to me of opening all of these like supplement containers and taking them out and looking at how many I need to take, it's overwhelming. But it's something that's pretty funny that I notice about myself, that if I'm in a state of being overwhelmed, like the smallest little things will push me over the edge and I just won't do them. So that's why, don't tell my orthodontist, but I had Invisalign and I haven't worn my retainer in in like 6 months because I was overwhelmed, and I was like, that's what's gonna go. I'm not putting in my retainer tonight. I can't do it. I can't do one more thing.
It's like a self-protest.
Yeah.
You're like, oh yeah, well, F you, orthodontist. And then your teeth are like, hey, man.
Yeah, it's like, what did I do?
Yeah. So check this out. Look at Boo.
Blue matcha.
So I'm really excited because we're trying the first time. I've been using honey, so we're actually adding in date sugar because that's what's going to sweeten the matcha. Date sugar, very little. It's not going to be high sugar. I wanted to have at least a little taste if someone has it raw, where they go, okay, I can do this. And then you're always welcome to make other, put honey or monk fruit, whatever you want. But date sugar is so subtle and it tastes natural. A lot of these sweeteners, and I don't know if you agree, but like stevia, it works, and for some reason there's just my brain goes, it's a little unnatural. Something's off. Definitely like the Splendors of the world and aspartames. I don't really touch those because they taste really off. But when it's coming from like coconut or date or even cane, my body's like, oh, this feels a little more integrated.
Yeah.
Do you notice subtle differences if one of the desserts from Erewhon are sweetened with erythritol or xylitol? I definitely do, and I try to avoid an erythritol, xylitol, those ones. Stevia is the one where I'll find myself sometimes having, but because it's from a plant, right? It's from a stevia leaf, but there's a processing process that it goes through to get to the state that I really don't enjoy it. And I've noticed though that when I start to really only have things that are sweetened with dates, or eating dates or sweetened with coconut sugar, that my taste buds will change, and I'll actually find that to be really sweet and sweet enough. And then I go back to having something with cane sugar or stevia or whatever else, and I'm like, oh my God, that's so sweet that I don't like it, which is crazy for me because I used to have the biggest sweet tooth. I could have all of the sugar and it wouldn't be too much. I noticed that 100%. We have a question of what kind of milk do you use to make the matcha? You can use any milk. Today we use cashew. You can use soy. You can use hemp.
And I'm going to check your mic while you're talking about milk. Yeah. Where's the little pack?
Right here, the pack. Yeah. So, soy, milk, almond, cashew, all of it. You can try it all. And it works. All of them work. It's delicious. We made it that way because it should be able to mix well with everything. So it just, when I tell you the excitement level of bringing this out to you all is through the roof, it really is. I've been making content and mock-ups of things. We haven't even created everything, and I'm still creatively trying to do some things. So we got some technical stuff going on
We
here.
have some technical difficulties. We're going to see if we can. Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
There you go.
Am I back online? Okay.
Good to go.
So let's check the waiting room. I really want to get to talking to all of you. So let's check the waiting room. If you are interested, or if you're watching this and haven't seen, there is a waiting room on my stories that you can come into and actually get your questions answered live. And like I said, all physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, it doesn't matter. Whatever's on your mind, we want to be able to hold space and really answer for you as best as possible. We have medical knowledge, we have personal experiences, you have Emily's perspective, and she's so into health and wellness and so well read and well researched. So we're here to support you all with questions. So Emily, do you see anyone in the waiting room right now? Anyone there yet?
We don't have anyone in the weight room right now.
All right, we'll wait on that.
Yeah,
Let's
everyone.
See. So keep checking on that. Let's see. Whenever we get, if you want your question answered, again, you're going to go to my story.
Yeah,
and
hop
there's
out
a
of
link.
the live.
Click on it, and then there's a waiting room. You come in, and then you'll get your questions answered. It's going to be really cool. There are some React videos that I wanted to watch about mouth breathing, catching someone's mood, and chewing gum. So let's see. What do y'all want to see? Mouth breathing, catching someone's mood or vibe. I don't know these, what's in these, and chewing gum. Okay, let's see. Mouth breathing, catching someone's vibe, or chewing gum. What do you want the first video to be? And let's have the audience really have a hand in this, because I want to watch videos for them. And in the meantime, let's see. We'll talk about something crazy that happened. My fiddle leaf plant was done for. I don't know what was happening. Actually, in retrospect, I do, because I've had someone come in and it had mealy bugs.
Are those little white cottony ones?
They're crazy.
It's when your home is moist, is what I've heard. That something about when the plant is staying moist and the water isn't actually like seeping down into the soil, that's when they start to grow, and they take over. They're impossible to get rid of.
Terrorized.
Yeah, I one time had them in all of the plants in my old apartment, and at one point it was a low moment for me. I'm like in the shower with all of my plants, like trying to get off.
Trying to save them.
Trying to get off all of these little, and no, it's hard.
I'm going to show you my little formula, because when I was told, do you see this white stuff? Look at these little bugs.
Yeah.
They're like really tiny.
And they lay the eggs like inside.
It's like a spider web.
Yeah.
It's weird. Yeah, like right in the crevices. So my plants have been doing much better since I used this formula. And I want to share this formula because I got the stuff right here. So basically, I was reading online, thank you ChatGPT, about what's the most effective.
Yeah, see, my problem was I was pre-ChatGPT.
Oh, pre-ChatGPT, yeah.
Pre-ChatGPT has you in the shower trying to get the bugs
let me
off
tell
of
you,
plants.
I got duped, by the way. There's a brand on Amazon that said like neem oil, because neem is really helpful for this.
Yeah.
Neem oil spray for plants.
Yeah.
And then I bought it, and then it came in, and I'm spraying it, and I go, what, is this just neem oil? It has to have something else. And then I start looking, and there's no ingredients other than neem oil. It said 1% neem oil and other ingredients. So I go, other ingredients? So I went to ChatGPT, I go, what's behind this brand? And can you believe that they've multiple times been sued because they're not disclosing their ingredients, but it's believed that they have straight pesticides, like straight, like farm level pesticides that they put in that spray, and they don't disclose it. And here I am just spraying it on my plant outside.
Yeah.
And my intuition hit me. I said, something's off here.
Yeah.
So I went back, I cleaned out the plant, I went back and I went to ChatGPT. Very simple. I put in like 20 plus drops of neem oil. You can get any one, but it's got to be neem oil because it's antimicrobial, especially, or anti-insect. It's an insecticide.
Yeah.
And then we use the Bronner soap for just being a carrier, like a sudsing agent. And you use warm water and you just spray the hell out of that plant.
Wow.
And I started.
You just drown them.
Yeah, and me being like an advocate for all life, when it's like ruining like my plants, I get sad. But like, I can see the mealbugs be like, no, you know, and they're just like, no, not the neem oil, you know, and.
Oh, I know. I picture them too.
Like,
same with ants.
I know.
I like really try
ants.
to avoid stepping on ants because I pictured like what's that ant movie or whatever.
Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Yeah, and them just like a giant shoe coming over their head, and they're like, no.
No, or A Bug's Life. You're probably talking about more so. All right, so this is the incredible thing that happened. I had a fiddle leaf plant before the LA fires that was on its last leg, and then the last leaf just like comes down right in front of me, and I'm like, no. So
you can tell he's been taking acting classes.
I've been taking acting classes. That's a whole other thing. So I take this heavy ass pot, by the way, and put it.
Yeah,
it
was on his counter like
today.
30 minutes ago, and I tried to move it, and I was like, nope.
It's heavy. So then I put it in the front, and I was like, okay, well, I gotta take it out. I gotta clean the dirt, and it's just the front yard's the place to do it. And then the fires came, and I didn't want to be outside, and then I left it outside for like another month, right? And the thing was dead. So then I go, okay, well, I got to bring it to the back. When you leave something there for so long, it just becomes part of that area. So I go, I got to clean this out. What am I doing with this plant? So I bring it and I put it in the garage because I'm going to dump it in the trash cans.
Yeah.
Just yesterday, I pull up, open the garage, and it's sprouting leaves everywhere. Everywhere, new fiddle leaves. And I was about to throw it away, today. It was time to clean it out. And I was like, wow. And that's symbolic because I feel this new change coming within me, within people around me, and it's just so beautiful to see that a plant so resilient. So
and
it really holds a lot.
Like, speaking of it being symbolic, how special is that? Because I was actually having this conversation with a friend recently. They say, how do you know when you're pushing towards something and you're working really hard and it seems like it's dead end after dead end and it's just not working? How do you not know that like the next time is going to be the one, or the next time is going to be the one? And this was this plant that's seemingly dying, and the day that you go to just throw it away and like give up on the plant is when it starts growing.
It is the most. It's like a romance at the end of like a romance myth movie or something. It's incredible because when I say I haven't watered this thing since early February.
Wow.
I haven't even watered this thing. Like, it's incredible to think like what's happening, or since it died January, and then it just came back to life, and I was like, wow. Okay. So
maybe the plant just had a little bit of seasonal depression.
And then it came back to life.
Needed springtime.
Exactly. All right, let's go. Let's check two things. Let's check the live show.
Yes.
Any feedback here?
So we have some preferences on the React video that we're going to watch.
Yeah.
Everyone is saying catching someone's vibe.
Whoa.
And some people are confused around what it means. So I think we have to show them.
It's piquing the interest.
Yeah.
I thought people were going to say mouth breathing.
We have one for mouth breathing. So if we do another.
Well, yeah. All right. I stand corrected. Let's watch catching someone's vibe. Oops. Okay. You can catch someone's mood just by sitting near them, according to science. Emotions are contagious. You unconsciously mimic facial expressions, body language, and even mood. And then there's a new study in Current Directions in Psychological Sciences that found that this kind of emotional synchronization can happen in just seconds. And it can influence your stress levels, decision making, and overall mood. This is great, right? And here's why. A lot of us are not fully conscious that we are sensitive to people's moods. But there's two aspects, the energetic aspect and the physical aspect. So I want everyone to think of a moment where they had a partner and their partner and them didn't argue during the day, but something is stuck on the partner from the day. And there's nothing against their partner coming when they come home or when they come visit them, but they're just holding on to something. You know how that feels, right? Like they can smile and say hi, but you know something's off. That's the energetic aspect. Because their facial expressions can smile, their shoulders can be down, but you just feel that something's off. We're attuned to energy. And the way it comes from is the heart field, right? There's this just like, I don't have an apple, but if you cut an apple in half, it's sort of like the seeds and then it goes like this, right? And then to the feet. That field, 360, can be felt. That's your vibe. The torus field around the heart is your vibe. And the more you're around someone and attuned to someone and they're part of your life, your partner, your brother, your sister, your coworker, the more sensitive you are to their field. So this is why when someone comes home, you sense their torus field. You sense their heart field. Why do we sense it? Because when we go through something and it's contractive, our whole field contracts. So we can sense when something is off, it's because we're sensing someone's field contracting, especially if they're not giving the facial cues. Now, people who give facial cues, we're evolutionary evolutionarily attuned to that too for safety. We want to know that someone's safe. So we're going to look at them. If they're smiling with their eyes show anger, something's off here, right? Or if they're just not smiling and their eyes look angry, there's something really off here. So we're attuned to the physical nervous system cues and the energetic. Imagine that. Like, we're so sensitive, and I love that we can catch someone's vibe, even if they're a stranger.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, like, humans have not been able to communicate using words forever. And so there used to be a way that we could communicate that was before words. And now we think that words are everything, that like communicating via these metaphors and like little just representations of what we're thinking is actually communicating. But there's so much more that's so much deeper.
That what?
Than just communicating like in the way that we traditionally think is communication now.
Yeah.
And it's by sensing energy and by like microfacial expressions.
And we can sense it like this. You have a partner. Can you sense when Brady's off? Like, you have a hard
100%.
day or something happened with work or family. You can sense that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. What
My
about you and
partner,
Claire?
too. Oh my gosh.
Well, because I think we don't give that, or at least I don't want to assume for everyone, but don't give too much credit to like how intelligent we are past what our just conscious brain is able to recognize. And like we start to get to know people in these ways that we don't really, I think, fully think about all the time. But like you start to map your partner and understand like what their energy feels like when they're having a good day, like what their little microfacial expressions are when they're happy. And you can really notice when it's off, but sometimes our conscious brain doesn't catch up with that as fast. And it's like, I don't know what I'm noticing, but I just noticed that like something is off here.
What do you notice in your body when someone around you is off? Like, what's the first thing that you notice in your body?
It's like an awkwardness. Like, I don't know how to describe, but I feel like I have always felt like I've been really attuned to people's energies, almost too much so that in the past it's kind of led to people pleasing, like trying to sense other people's energies and trying to like fix them as best as I can. And yeah, like I can maybe like a tightness in my chest or something. Like I feel the constriction too.
I feel it in my belly, a tightness in my belly. Viewers and listeners, when someone is off that you love, whether it's a family member, a partner, a coworker, what do you feel in your body? Let's bring some somatics into this. What is the energy? What is tense? What gets tense? Because some people might say my throat, my back, my jaw, my belly, my hips, different parts for different people. But it's really important to bring awareness to this. So that, and you have to trust it. You have to trust if like you're meeting someone and for all intents and purposes, their smile is big. Everyone says that they're the coolest person and everyone loves that person. But for some reason you're contracting, trust your body before you do your mind and your ego of what's there.
Oh my gosh. I have a story about trusting your gut if we have time for a little story. So on Saturday night, I was driving home. I went to a friend's birthday dinner at like 12:30. I'm not normally out this late. And I just felt like this car was following me. Like I was driving and I was like my body could tell that this car was following me. And then I was like getting all in my head and I'm like, no, you're just being paranoid. Like, I don't know. And I'm like, maybe my tail light is out. Like maybe, I don't know. I started to get in my head, but my body immediately was like, I know that this car is following me. And like 5 miles later, I was coming up with game plans of like, I can't go home. I can't get out of my car because this car is following me. And this guy pulls up next to me to like hit on me. And I like tell him I have a boyfriend and to leave me alone. But I was like, you don't follow a girl in a car at 12:30. But the point of that with this story is that like I tried to get in my head and be like, no, maybe I know the person, like maybe my tail light was out, maybe they're trying to tell me something. But my body immediately was like, nope, I know that this car is following me right now.
You already know.
Yeah.
And what was the moment? Did you see them follow you for like 2-3 blocks or something? Like, did they make a turn when you made a turn? Like,
yeah, so they were driving in the other direction and I was driving this way. And they like U-turned to be behind me. And then they were like pulling into the turn lane and I was just like looking forward. I don't know what's going on, but so I wasn't looking at them. And then I could just like kept looking back and they were still behind me. And so I could really sense like this person's following me. And then it was when they pulled up next to me, like miles later. But my body like knew right away. But in my head, I'm like, no, you know, maybe they just needed to go this way, or like my taillight's out, or they're trying to tell me something.
Yeah, it's also like having perspective and common sense. Like if you see someone you fall in love with through the front view mirror, or, you know, like the driver as you're passing them, and then you just follow them, maybe it's not the best idea. You know, like can you make the person feel safe before you even say, hey, can I get your number? It's like, it's pretty wild. Okay, let's check on them comments. And I want to check on the waiting room after this. Let's see if anyone's in there.
Yeah, still no one in the waiting room. We have people that are commenting. They don't want their questions answered. They're fine with just typing them in. But we do, someone had said tense air, that they can sense when they sense that someone's energy is off.
Wait, hold on. I like that. It's the air gets heavier, and that's the vibe.
Yeah, and that, I wonder if it really is how you said there's
that's
like
the field.
That you can feel that energy.
The air feeling heavier is your sensitivity to the field.
And I think this was on your podcast episode with Salim, if I'm not mistaken, that he was talking about like the magnetic field of the heart. And that's crazy that we just see ourselves as this separate being from the space around us that has this like very clear, you know, cutoff limit. And it's not. Like there's this whole magnetic field from our heart, and that I think that is what people are feeling. 100%. It's that there's a contraction in your heart, or there's this openness and expansiveness.
Because if you ever think about it, and we'll go back to the comments in a second, if you ever think about it, you know when you're feeling really good and you're like, life is great, the sun is great, my life is great, I'm happy, work, everything's clicking, then you go places and people are like kind of just like noticing you more, and they're like, hi. And you're just walking past them and people are friendly to you, they're more friendly. That's just your toric field.
So I've seen it expressed in a somewhat woo-woo way a lot, but that authenticity is the highest vibration emotion. And I think there's other ways to say it, but that I feel like that's because you're just completely open. You know, if you're able to just fully be yourself, you're comfortable and you're confident in yourself, and you're acting from that space where there's no filter, there's no like thought in the brain, you're just like, your heart is open, that people really, really feel that. And it kind of makes you think like, you can't fake it, you know? Yeah, it can't be controlled, it can't be faked in any way, because it's like deeper than that. It's an energetic feeling.
It feels good too. Comments, what they got going? I want to know, where do you feel?
So I appreciate this one. Black Nessa Amy, who's been commenting, said that she doesn't want to leave this live. It's too good. That's why she's not joining the calls.
Shout out Amy. We love you. Thank you for staying on and just being part of the conversation. And that's really important. I want to be able to have conversations. You know, I have my podcast, right? And podcast recorded and distributed. I want to have a medium where we can actually like talk to the people who've been like part of this community for since the beginning or since recently. It doesn't matter. Just like, we need more community, more, you know that, you're a community builder. Let's see this mouth breathing one.
Okay.
I want to see this mouth breathing video, okay? Mouth breathing is so, I can't wait to talk about this because I'm so passionate about mouth breathing. All right.
Behavioral and why can lead to inflammation in the body. It also, when we breathe through our mouth, we get about 20% less oxygen. So if a child's been doing this year after year in these critical formative years, especially those first 1,000 days, that can affect brain development in theory. So we do see a lot of children who get pegged with ADHD and then prescribed medications. And my first thought is, well, hold on, could we do an airway screening on this child? Potentially, do they have sleep disordered breathing, chronic mouth breathing, or even obstructive sleep apnea? And is that something that we could unpack and address?
Amen. That is Dr. Stacy Whitman and a colleague of mine, Dr. Jolene Brighton, a fellow naturopathic doctor. I love Dr. Stacy because she's really pushing mouth breathing. She was just on Huberman's show, which was really exciting. So when it comes to mouth breathing, oh my God, one of the first time I ever heard about this was with Dr. Stephen Lin. He's a dentist and he was on my show. He was on my like 7th ever Heal Thyself show. And he was talking about mouth breathing and the way it affects jaw development in children, oral, the teeth, the structure of the teeth, right? The structure of how we breathe. And breathing ultimately informs our whole body. Wherever we get oxygenation is health, right? That's why Dr. Bryant's nitric oxide show did so well, is because he's talking about ways to elevate oxygenation to the body. But mouth breathing is mouth breathing and nasal breathing, these are two really important points. If you're not breathing from your nose, you're not creating nitric oxide in the body. Nitric oxide is really important for vasodilation. It opens up the blood vessels. So it gives your blood the route to go directly to organs to feed them and to heal and to fight off cancer and to help your immune system, everything.
Is there also an association with then stress and breathing through your nose? Because, you know, if you're hyperventilating, you're breathing through your mouth. And so I try to be really careful if I'm working out or if I'm on a run to slowly breathe through my nose and then back out of my nose to kind of teach my body, okay, you're not stressed out. Because you notice the second you start breathing out of your mouth and you give your body that sense that you're hyperventilating, your body's then like, okay, I'm really tired. Like, I don't want to keep going. This is too much. And so I wonder if there's a relationship too, kind of, that we're actually more stressed out and like exacerbating chronic stress by breathing out of our mouth.
Yeah, when you're breathing out of your mouth, even if you're not running, you're giving the body the signal that there's some danger around. Even if it's a subtle breathing through the mouth, like you're watching a movie and breathing through the mouth, the body's going, okay, like I kind of have to be ready for a danger. If you're running and breathing from the mouth, like at some point when you're really exerting yourself energetically or like through athleticism, like you're using a lot of energy in your body, you're gonna have to be, right, at some point. That's for like short survival bursts, right? But if we're doing it all day, it affects everything. We're made to nasal breathe. Now the problem is that a lot of adults are having issues nasal breathing because
you don't remember how.
we don't remember how, and actually we developed with our mouth not conducive to proper tongue posture, and without proper tongue posture, we're not creating the proper airway. See, what happens is when we're kids, it's really important if you're having kids to pay attention to this. It's not cute if a kid's sleeping with their mouth open. It's actually a red flag. If a kid has dark spots under the eyes, that's a red flag. If the kid is tired all the time, or your child is always napping, past infancy, like you have a toddler always napping, or they're in preschool, they're always napping. Bad breath, oral issues, cavities, the dentist is going, but we don't give my kid sugar, and he brushes his teeth every night. They're still getting cavities. These are massive signs of mouth breathing. And that you have a window right all the way up to like around 7, 8, 9, 10, around there.
To basically train them how to
train them,
nose breathe?
Yeah, because their mandible and their maxilla is forming. Wow. And so if you don't address that, everything grows downward. So the cheeks don't become well developed, the jaw doesn't become well developed, the roof of the mouth doesn't widen, it doesn't accommodate the top of the tongue to suck up and stay there, which creates a whole cascade of positive reactions for the body. And it doesn't open up the nasal sinuses. So everything grows very narrow. The nose grows narrow. It kind of hooks like this. There's no chin. Their mouth is open. They have dark spots under the eye or indentations under the eye. So there's a very characteristic face of knowing what child is mouth breathing. Wow. That sets them up for the rest of their life because you're not going to change the bones once they start fusing. So it's really important not only to make sure your kid isn't mouth breathing, but also giving them rough, fibrous foods. When they have their teeth in, they should be eating carrots and pulling, celery and pulling. That action, mechanical action, helps develop instead of eating mushy. You can't. And then ultimately giving your kids vitamin A, D, E, and K. Those are important vitamins for the development of the jaw, whether it's through foods or formulas or supplements, supplemental foods that are really developing the jaw. That's how you really do it properly for a kid. There you go. That's
There
what
we
I'm
go. All right, we have a caller.
We have a caller?
Yes, we have
Oh
a
my
caller.
God,
So
we have
let's
a caller.
get you your phone.
Okay. So let's
We're
put this
gonna
on.
let her in.
I'm a little nervous. We
I
haven't
know.
ever had a caller. Okay. I'm putting this on. I'm putting the headphones in. All right, we are in.
All right.
Okay. I'm ready on my side.
Hi.
Oh, the caller's Naz. The caller's Naz.
Hi.
I was gonna say the
I
caller ghosted us.
I
Here,
wanted
I
to
think it's on
call
mute.
in. Can you
Oh
hear
my
me?
God. How did we get so lucky?
I saw that you obviously I know you and I know you're coming out with the matcha line, but I was curious why you decided matcha of all things.
Ooh.
Everyone's been asking about the matcha, what's in the matcha when it comes out, and I don't think anyone's asked why matcha.
That's a really good question, right?
Yeah,
And,
because you could have started any type of supplement, something, you know.
matcha is like one of the most healthiest food and beverages you can have. Matcha has this really miracle constituent called EGCG, which has been shown across the board to prevent or help prevent many different types of cancers. It's one of the most powerful molecules out there, reducing inflammation, anti-aging, skin. And then L-theanine is so calming to the caffeine in matcha. And then on top of that, matcha is rich with something called polyphenols that feed the gut. So it's like, it's literally matcha in itself is an elixir. I just wanted to make it better than what we have out here. So I wanted to up level it.
Wow, I didn't know matcha was anti-aging. Is that
Oh my God, matcha's it's I'm telling you, it's one of the best drinks. I think everyone across based on the constitution, everyone across the board should be drinking some sort of green tea or matcha, especially for breast health. A lot of women, it's like really,
really?
really potent. Yeah, for breast health,
Wow.
it's so essential.
I didn't
I
know that.
I can't believe my friend called in.
Well, I love you. I was curious because you know how people say that coffee has a lot of caffeine and coffee can dehydrate you. And I've heard people say matcha has way more caffeine than coffee. So does that mean that matcha is then really dehydrating for the body?
No, matcha doesn't have more caffeine. It's got less. So usually coffee will have like 100 or so uh, milligrams of coffee, and then matcha will have about 60. Um, the coffee is not bad. The quality is really important. A lot of coffee is doused with a lot of pesticides, inherently high levels of heavy metals. You got to get the right coffee. But if you get the right coffee, it's so healthy for your heart. Like so healthy. It's like one of the best things
Really?
that, yeah, coffee is fantastic antioxidants for the heart. The problem is, the real biggest problem is that people don't drink coffee in the way that we're supposed to. If you drink coffee from a state of like, I need this to wake up, or I'm doing it like in the middle of my day, you're taking it from a stressful state already, the signal, and it's pushing up your cortisol really high, your adrenaline.
Mm,
When you drink coffee, it's got to be like, I'm calm, I'm at peace. It feels like a Saturday morning. I don't need this. And the signal is completely different. It actually reacts with the body completely different.
whoa.
Yeah, so people have a poor relationship with coffee. Matcha, people are starting to kind of rely it as a coffee alternative, but matcha inherently doesn't give that much energy. Like people don't drink matcha and go, "Whoa, I'm ready, I'm buzzed." They kind of do it because it's like a healthier alternative. But
Right.
but the caffeine in matcha usually isn't a problem because of the L-theanine to balance it.
That's so interesting. And
Hmm.
so is there a time where you're supposed to have coffee? Like so I can still have it in the morning. I just can't energetically feel like I'm relying on it to wake me up.
Yeah. So when your cortisol is highest about an hour and a half after you wake up, so you want to work with your cortisol like that, right? Because when you're drinking it, it's going to elevate cortisol regardless because of the action of the coffee in the body.
Right.
But what happens is like if you know, and there's even different metabolizers for coffee. If you know that it takes a while for you to metabolize coffee, you have to cut it off. Like if you're at like 10 o'clock, last cup by far, then you have to stop. People usually push it and they go, no, it's 11:30. I could have another cup.
and it's going to affect them. It's going to have another burst in cortisol, which is going to affect melatonin later in the day. You want your
Yeah.
melatonin later in the day to start rising up around like 7, 8, 9, 10 p.m. You're ready to go to sleep.
Yeah.
Cortisol can disrupt that.
I've heard.
Shorter half-life than coffee does, or a shorter.
It's the caffeine. It just because it has less caffeine, it's going to metabolize faster, but it's the same half-life.
Wait, I thought
Anyway,
matcha has more caffeine.
yeah, less. Mira, 60 to
Oh, wow.
70.
So that's a myth that matcha has more caffeine
I
than
don't know who
coffee.
started that myth. That must have been Mr. Folger starting that myth. Senor Folger started that.
Senor Folger. Okay.
That Naz, I
Thank
love
you
you.
guys so much. I love you. Bye.
Cool. Okay, so I'm just gonna exit now. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Great. That was fun. We had our first caller, and we actually got to have some really valuable conversations around coffee and matcha, coffee versus matcha. Which one's better? Which one should you take?
Well, I was talking to some friends recently, and one of them was saying that, he started his job out of college, and it was like a corporate, banking job. And he was like, wow, I have anxiety, and I've never had anxiety in my life. And he just thought that that's what happens when you enter the corporate world and you're, you have this high stress job, you're no longer in college and partying and having fun. And he realized that he was drinking all the free coffee that the office had. And so he was drinking like 3-4 cups of coffee every day. He stopped drinking coffee, the anxiety went away.
But imagine how out of touch people are with their body, that they do something for so long and they don't know what it is until later. Like, you should be able to drink, like, the awareness we should have of our bodies, you should be able to drink this and go, wow, that coffee gave me anxiety.
Yeah.
An hour later. And go, oh, maybe I shouldn't drink that coffee.
But we're so, with everything, with all of the different stimuli, with all of the things that we're taking, with all of the numbing agents, everything, we're so removed from our bodies. And that was why I stopped drinking coffee, is it wasn't because I got anxiety. It wasn't because, I had too much energy. It was literally because I could drink a cup of coffee at 10 p.m. and go to sleep. And I had this realization where I was like, I don't think you're not supposed to feel it.
Yeah,
I was just drinking it because you're supposed to, and I was in the habit of it. And then I became reliant on it, but it wasn't giving me any energy. And I realized I don't think you're supposed to feel that way. So I stopped taking it, and now I drink a cup of coffee and I'm like, whoa.
Oh my God. Do you remember?
I'm running around.
Do you remember? And shout out to Dave Asprey. He gave me some coffee. This stuff is so strong. Do you remember were you there when I drank this and I was crazy?
I don't know if I don't remember.
Oh,
I don't
Claire
think I
was there.
Yeah, I wasn't there when you drink it, but I do. So the big thing of Danger Coffee is that it's like one of the highest quality for not having mold in it, right?
Mold and pesticides.
And
this is another one, Purity. I like
Purity.
This.
And so I wonder if, a lot of these symptoms that people are feeling from coffee is actually from like the mold and the pesticides
yeah, especially the pesticides and the heavy metals over time. But when I drank that, that is like, it's just so
dangerous.
Pure. It's so pure. And I was like, I drank a little bit in the morning, maybe a little more than a little bit. I had a new French press and I didn't know how to make it. So I just probably drank 2 cups. Holy moly. I went to bed that night and my heart was like this. I was like, I'm not going to sleep tonight. It took me 2 hours to finally fall asleep. That was crazy. But I want to tell you something that I did in Portland. And let's check the comments before anything. I want to see if anything's coming in before.
Yeah. So Erica Raquel said, quit coffee a year ago and only drink organic matcha and love it. We're going to need to turn her on to your matcha. And yes, she said, energizing, I really want to give up coffee too. I seriously don't function the same without coffee and I want that to change, primarily for blood pressure purposes.
Yeah, so that's what's going to happen. The release of adrenaline is just going to increase the blood pressure.
The big thing that I think really incentivized me to stop drinking coffee is actually what I learned when I learned what coffee is actually doing. That it's not, and I think this is any form of caffeine. It's matcha as well, but that it's not giving you energy. It's an antagonist to you feeling tired. And I was in this period of life when it was the same reason that I stopped drinking alcohol. I was like, I don't want to keep doing these things that are just preventing me from what I'm naturally feeling. If it was truly giving me energy, great, but if it's just preventing me from my body telling me that it's tired, I don't think that that's a good thing.
That's why I actually never got into caffeine, like coffee in the morning. Matcha has such a subtle effect on me, but I don't feel, when I drink matcha, I don't feel energized. I feel, especially with this formula, a lot more grounded and focused.
And focused, yeah.
That's different than when I drink coffee. When I said I go crazy, like I want to do 1,000 things. I'm like, well, why don't I just clean up my whole basement and my whole living room and my whole upstairs? It just doesn't stop.
Yeah.
And it was giving me a false barometer of what my true energy was.
Yeah.
That's why I never got into it. I go, it's not real for
I
me.
wonder, is it like a dopamine thing? Because if it's this desire to do all of these things, like, is it, you know, because that's
your adrenaline. So when your adrenaline is when it's high and focused, because that's what happened. Adrenaline gives you focus. When you're running away from a lion, you're not like distracted. You are completely focused.
Yeah,
there is the fence. I'm going to jump over that fence. The lion's not going to make it over.
But that was me when the guy was following me.
Yeah. Adrenaline was high. You focused. You know, you're thinking of quick solutions.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what, it's really the adrenaline that goes up. Now, I want to share with you something that happened in Portland. I went to a tea ceremony. This was my second tea ceremony. Coincidentally, the first tea ceremony was a student of the one that I went to in Portland.
Wow.
So I went to the Portland. He's in the tea space, the LeBron James of tea spaces. Everyone in the tea ceremony knows him. He's the tea guru. He's the tea Yoda.
Wow.
He is the guy. His name's Po.
Po.
And Po, I'm just thinking it's like some like Polynesian, like high man bun, jacked guy. And here comes this guy from New Jersey, pale, like just the opposite of what I thought, you know, kind of out of shape and everything. And I'm talking to him, and immediately I got the sense that this man doesn't know the details about the tea as much as he knows and is a master of the energetics of tea.
Wow.
And this really blew me away because the way he spoke about it, he's like, I'm going to tell you what I know of this, but your experience may be different. Ironically, when we did the tea ceremony, everything that he said will happen. Now, oolong tea has never made me feel like this. So here he is. He has like this 1800s kettle, 1905 kettle. He's got teas from like the 1950s. It's like the most beautiful tea space. And we're sitting, and me and a few people, and he's pouring the tea, and it's quiet. We're just some conversation, but quiet. And you hear right into this little ceramic clay shot glass. And it's just beautifully exquisite the way that he handles this tea pouring. It's beautiful. And I drank this oolong tea. By the third cup, my whole body, he said, you likely feel it in your chest area. I felt literally like a worm was moving around my chest. Like energy started to move. And then by the fifth cup, my whole body felt this sense of relax that, my God, I haven't felt since so long. It was like, if you think post-orgasmic relaxation, that's what it was. Wow. It was just like this. Everything's okay. Wow. Like, it was incredible. Then by the next go around, he gave me this tea that he said, it's gonna be up. I got psychedelic. I started hearing stuff and seeing visions. And I'm like, how is whatever tea he gave me after that, after the oolong, making me feel this way? And he goes, now I'm gonna close it by bringing you back in your body. So he closed it with this tea that made me feel like I was 250 pounds, like this. Oh my God.
You went on a whole journey.
I had a whole journey, and I wasn't the only one. Wow. I was looking around, and everyone was
everyone was going through
we were collectively going like, how is tea making this happen? And I realized one thing, and it's the same thing we were talking about a while ago. It's the relationship to the thing. Yeah. Tea, I can drink an oolong tea, talk, do the show, drink it. Oh, that was nice. But the fact that we were beyond intentional, it was ritualistic, and it was slow, and we felt the tea move through our body. We got to see the truth of the energy of that tea that's always been there. And it's the relationship to the experience. So tea always was going to make me feel that way, but it's the presence that I brought to it to really see the truth behind it, which is a microcosm of everything. Can you bring presence to your partner to see you the true, authentic partner that you have, or are you in so many places? When you bring presence, pure mindful presence, you actually see everything for what it is.
It's really beautiful. It's exactly what I was thinking, is that normally, you know, we just pick up our tea and we're drinking it while we're thinking about all of these other things. And so we don't notice the tea. But with this, even the process of you sitting there and like watching how it's made, like you're building that relationship, and your body is kind of preparing itself to take in this tea, and it's already having that relationship before you even start drinking it. And it's kind of a similar conversation to like being chased by a lion, because all of your attention goes to that one thing, and it's a moment where you let go of all of the other stories. You let go of like what's happening in the future and in the past, and you're fully present, and that's why you're able to run away from a lion. And same with this, like you're able to witness the whole spectrum and beautiful just like complexity of this tea, because you're actually there feeling it, instead of just, you know, I've had tea before. I know what oolong tea tastes like. You're like putting it in a box, which is exactly what we do with relationships.
100%.
And that brings it back to the conversation at the beginning of like, do you know your partner, and you know the subtle of, you know, if they're showing up and they're in a certain energy or they had a bad day, like we are just kind of like, oh, I know my partner, you know, I know whatever, instead of truly being like, no, I'm noticing these things that are different about you. Like, what's going on? Tell me more.
Present. Yeah, it is. And it really hit me with the slowing down. Like, I was like, God, like we miss so much of life because we don't know how to slow down. And the fact that like,
what's the Ferris Bueller quote? Life moves pretty fast.
Moves pretty fast. I can't believe it. I missed tea this whole time. I literally missed tea. I have this whole tea section. There's about 20 teas in here. And I can't believe I missed what tea is. Like, how much more of life am I missing? Am I missing what an apple is? You know, so that ritualism, I would ask, first of all, everyone, go do a tea ceremony in your town. Find someone, type tea ceremony near me, find it, and it's like so beautiful if you bring yourself to full presence.
Well, I think of that with like, I mean, I think it can be applied to a lot of things, like movement. If we have a million different things on our mind and we're in a yoga class, like how much are you missing out on actually feeling like what this movement is doing to your body, and then reaping the benefits of that? Like you were able to feel so many more of the benefits of the tea by actually being present with it. Imagine if we were fully present when we're like doing yoga or out on a walk in nature. And I think that it would always be psychedelic. And then same with, you know, life and chapters of life. And like, as you're building this matcha company, if you can be fully present to the beautiful process of building the company and not so set on like the outcomes of, you know, the future that we all get caught up in, I think we would pick up on a lot more.
Amen to that. Let's check the comments before we come to our closing part of this show. Man, I really enjoyed this show. We have engaged comments. We got one of my best friends and sister to call in. We had some good combos. We covered a lot. How the comments looking?
Some just nice reminders to be intentional, focused and grounded 100%.
Yeah.
And just some gratitude for you sharing and teaching us.
Yeah.
Lots of people who want matcha. Some question about tea brands. Yeah, if you have any favorite tea brands.
Yeah, like, you know, it's funny, when I was with Poe, I go, okay, so like, you're like a well-traveled tea connoisseur who has very obviously like Beijing tea from 1800s here, you know, Korean tea, Japanese, it's crazy. Like, what do we do? Where do we get good teas? And this is really, I almost missed this, and I needed to say this. He's like, there's so many brands, I can't tell you brands. Just know that like tea is meant to be not cropped with thousands and thousands of the same tea bushes or tea plants. Tea is meant to be part of like a diverse agriculture, right? Diverse ecosystem. So that's first and foremost. So you want to make sure that like the tea isn't monocropped. It's actually coming from a diverse ecosystem. 2, he said, you know that tea that you're drinking is using pesticides if ever tea makes you feel out of your body. If tea makes you at all, he said, fractured in your thoughts, like there's something off after you drank the tea, you don't feel open, but you actually feel closed. He said that's usually the energy of the pesticide experience. That was really a good one.
And how powerful is that? That it's nature versus unnatural. And so when it's nature, like we feel more in our body, which is nature. We feel more connected to ourselves and like to nature, versus you take this synthetic chemical thing and you're pulled away from that.
Yeah. So knowing what I know from like my work, I know Anima Mundi is a great brand for tea. Mountain Valley not Mountain Valley, Mountain Rose, Mountain Rose Herbs. They have bulk tea. Magic Hour, you know, we have them. We have Magic Hour in here. I think Rishi's pretty good, but I know they're organic, but I haven't really fully looked into them. But yeah, like what we want to do, and I want to start this little like apothecary, is just have like loose leaf teas like this, and just kind of fill up that whole wall as an apothecary. And just really, I mean, it's funny because I get excited about, there's a Leo thing. I get excited about thing and I want to do everything in that thing, in that moment. And then like a year later, I'm not interested anymore. So I want to buy like a little tea table. Molly, my co-founder from the Integrative Institute, her partner he's a woodsman, so he makes tea ceremony tables. Wow. So I want to get a quote from him. I'm going to put a little altar. I'm going to get, and I want people to experience tea with me, or I want to experience it myself every morning as like a ritual to slow down. So that'd be the way to check for your teas. And yeah, what a great show. We had fantastic comments, fantastic conversations. We got a call in. Remember, next week, if you want to get on these calls, we're going to put the link in my stories about 15-20 minutes before, and that'll always be available. Yeah, and we always put these shows on YouTube. So even if you leave to go on a call in, you can always watch the rest on YouTube. Thank you for joining.